So, let's talk about autosomal recessive traits. In our case, I think it's easier to even talk about diseases. Okay? So, recessive alleles causing disease. And I'll show you what I mean by this. These diseases are relatively rare. Because the dominating ones are always dominating, right? They're the ones that are going to show up more. Even if you have a lowercase and an uppercase, the dominating one's going to show up. So that's making it these diseases or these things being more rare than the dominating ones. All right? The chances of two carriers, heterozygous, meeting and mating is very low. Okay? That's why how do you even say this? Marrying cousins. Yeah, consanguineous. Okay, mating. Mating between close relatives. You see, in the family, they may have, let's say, a certain gene that is recessive. So if you're going to marry and mate with, let's say, a cousin who may have it because it's still in the same family, then there's a greater chance that that recessive gene is going to come out. Especially if it's a disease, we don't want that to happen. All right? So you have that issue, obviously, with having a taboo to be marrying your own cousin or your own sister and stuff. But there's also a medically or genetically thing that we're concerned about, is that you could be passing on genes and the offspring could be diseased. Does that make sense? All right? So there's two parts to that on there. So examples are cystic fibrosis, sickle cell disease, being albino and stuff. So what does this come down to? Okay. So we have, let's say, cystic fibrosis and sickle cell disease. Okay? So I'm going to do small squares up on the board for easier to manage than 4x4. So let's just do this. So we have this set up here. Now, I'm going to use C's only because the picture that's going to show up from a textbook uses C's. I normally would like that because the big C and little c looks the same. So instead, what I'll do is I'll change it to colors. Okay? So let's say this over here would be mom, and we represent females like this. That's a symbol for females. And for males, we use a symbol that kind of looks like this. Okay? That's what I use, and you'll see that later on in your careers. So let's say mom is, and we'll just call it sickle cell anemia. Okay? She's completely normal. She looks normal, no problem. But she carries the gene for sickle cell. So in this case, she's heterozygous dominant, meaning that she has a capital C and a lowercase c. The lowercase c is the one that's going to be, that's the trait for sickle cell. But she looks normal. She's living to a ripe old age of 100. All right? She's fine. Dad also is a carrier, and he's completely normal also, at least phenotypically. Okay? We talked about meiosis, how it gets split and split and split. Half the number of chromosomes in the sperm, half the number of chromosomes in the egg. So here's where the chances come in. If you cross this over here, then the offspring, because you could have, this is an egg and this is a sperm, this is an egg, this is a sperm, there's an egg, sperm, and so forth. They're going to unite and make one. So this could be capital C, capital C. This could be capital C, lowercase c. Right? You see how I'm doing it? Okay, I'm doing this as though no one's ever had a Punnett Squares before. All right? Capital C, lowercase c, and then lowercase c, lowercase c. Okay? You see how I did it, right? Pretty simple. Not as simple as when we get to dihybrids. So what's going to happen here is this. Okay? If there's a capital C, then we call that homozygous dominant, and they will be completely normal. They won't carry the gene for sickle cell or nothing. All right? They have two normal alleles, completely normal genotypically and phenotypically. Then we also have the heterozygous dominant, where phenotypically they look normal. Genotypically, not so. They carry the gene for it. So you've got one normal allele from dad or mom, and then one dysfunctional allele from the other parent. Okay? But because it's capital C, it's dominating. It's going to be higher. It's going to be the default. But there is going to be lowercase c, lowercase c. There is a chance that their child may have sickle cell anemia, which unfortunately only lives to about 30, 35 years old. Okay? So in a case like this, and we see more sickle cell in the black population, but with a lot of intermixed, they're starting to do the testing on pregnant moms more prominently with everybody now, okay? But if mom is pregnant and we test her for sickle cell anemia, because she doesn't have it, but we still test her, she may be heterozygous dominant, meaning she might be a carrier. If she's pregnant and we know that she's a carrier, what's the next test we want to do? What's that? You want to test dad. You test dad, and he is also a carrier. Now there's a 25% chance that that child may have a full-blown sickle cell disease. Now this is where we talk to the parents. It's called genetic counseling. And this is where we talk to them and say, we give them all the information. It's called autonomy. They make the decision themselves. We are just going to give them all the information. They got about a few weeks to decide what to do. If they want to have a child with the sickle cell anemia, a chance of sickle cell anemia, super. If you don't, then they have the option if they want to do an abortion. They might have thought, my grandmother had a sickle cell, I definitely don't want my child to go through what she went through. Or you know what, I still want to have respect. Whichever. But it's called autonomy. It's up to the mom and dad to decide what to do. But you as if you're going into genetics, if you're going to be a doctor, you have to present to them all the information without any bias, without your own bias about whether you're pro-life or pro-choice. You just give them objectively, this is what it is. You have a 25% chance. Here's some pamphlets, here's some people to talk to. You make your decision. Does that make sense? Okay? Now, you had a question?
Yeah, just a second. So the father has.
Let me finish. I know where you're going. So, mom has the trait. So what happens, and by the way, let me just do this before I erase this. So this here is showing exactly what it did here. All right? And it might not show so clear over here, but I'll make it more prominent in the video. So capital C, capital C, capital C, lowercase, capital C, lowercase, lowercase, lowercase. So Julia over here would have the sickle cell anemia. All right, that's if mom and dad are carriers. Okay, but what if mom is a carrier and then we test dad and dad's not a carrier? You see, in this case here, think about what's happening here. Well, let me just show you before we get into. I know where you're going, okay? So, doing this case over here, so you're going to predict the offspring with the two carriers, right? Now look what's happening. This is where you got to know the difference between genotype versus phenotype. Genotypically, you'll have 25% that are completely normal. That's what this is right here. Genotypically. You will have 50% when you'll be carrying the trait. Okay? And 25% that would have a full-blown sickle cell anemia. Okay? That's genotypically. Phenotypically, it's different. Right? How are they going to appear to you? All right? Or look at the they do a blood test. What is the blood going to look like? Well, in this case, 75% will appear normal. 25% won't. Does that make sense? Right? There's a difference here between phenotype and genotype. Okay? So that's what's happening over here. So 75% appear normal, 25% will have the disease. So how bad would these two children be? Well, as bad as mom and dad, who can live to 100 years old. Okay? So, with that said, and I think this is where you're going, mom has the trait but dad does not. So dad is completely normal. So that means that dad will be this, or the children will be this. Does that make sense? In this case, mom, this happens all the time in pregnancies. Mom has the trait, you test dad, dad doesn't have the trait, and now what happens is 50% of the children have a chance of being just like mom, which is fine, or 50% which is just like dad, which is fine. So they wouldn't go to genetic counseling because they're going to be normal. You see what's going on? You can play around with this. What if mom has sickle cell anemia, but dad doesn't? In this case, all the children will be fine. See that? See how they're changing? Genotypically, it's different, right? What if dad has the trait and mom has the disease? Now there's a 50% chance that the offspring will actually have the disease, and 50% will be completely normal. I'm sorry, normal, but at least carry the gene. You see how you're going to play with these kinds of things? You can almost guess like my kinds of questions I'm going to put on the test, right? You got to figure out what's going on. All right? Questions about that? That's the easy part. All right. So sickle cell anemia, we talked about this. It's an autosomal recessive disease, as I just explained to you. We see the Punnett Squares with that. Like I said, the red blood cells, they should be round. In this case, they're sickle and or banana shaped, and they have problems with finding oxygen and going to another place. Okay? This is what hemoglobin normally looks like. All right, so you look at a molecular level, and the red blood cells are all round. In sickle cell anemia, they go all scrunched up, which means that the shape of the red blood cells are kind of like sickle or banana shape. And it's difficult for oxygen to bind to this. All right? So this is just showing the same thing. Okay? With H's. Now I just want to, might as well put it in here where the ADO blood grouping is. Now I'm just going to give you a very fast crash course on blood typing. Okay? This is in your lab and stuff. We definitely will go spend a whole laboratory session. If you enjoy doing this kind of stuff, we do it in anatomy and physiology. Actually, it's in part 2. But I just want to show you what's going on over here. Okay. there's 3 different alleles for blood types. You can either have A, B, actually 4. A, B, or neither. And what it basically is, you have a red blood cell. I don't know how to explain this very briefly. You got a red blood cell, kind of looks like this, and there's markers on the red blood cell. We call them antigens. Won't ask you about this, but I just want you to see where these A's and B's come from. The red blood cells may have a marker on it called A, and that means that that person's blood type is A. They might have a blood type that's, or they might have a marker that has B. So that person's blood is AB. If they just have B, then it's B blood. If they have none on them, then that's O blood. Does that make sense? All right, that's basically in a nutshell what that is. A lot more to talk about with that, but it's over the scope of this course. Okay? But there are markers on it. Okay? You can't mix the blood. You can't put A blood into someone who's got B blood. Because you've got an immune response, and it attacks your blood, it goes through numerous things, and it'll kill you. All right? So you've got to make sure that you get the right blood to each person. Is that okay? That's all I wanted to say about that. But look, this is what's happening. You can get A blood from mom. Let's say she's heterozygous, she's homozygous A. So she can have A. She got this from mom, she got this from dad. Does that make sense? Let's say the male over here, he has, I'm just going to say color. He has blood, but he's heterozygous for B. So he has BO. So he got B from his mom, and he got nothing from his dad. Does that make sense? You see how I'm doing this? So now you're going to put cross this over here, and you'll get this. See how I did that? So, in a person who has A blood and B blood, they won't know if they're BO or if they're AA or AO. You just know you're A. They got to go back into other tests to figure that out. Or you can also see what the offspring is, see what they get. So in this case, half of them will have AB blood and half of them will have A blood. This is a simple paternal test. For instance, is it possible that if mom has this blood and dad has this blood, and the child comes up as BO? Is that possible? No. These are the things you see on Maury Povich. Whatever, paternity tests, right? Whatever, they come down. You've seen the paternity tests on those shows, right? Yeah. I got BO. I have blood B positive blood. My son has B positive blood. I'm the father. You're an idiot. You're not the father. You can't be. You see? Does this make sense? All right. Now, granted, I mean, you have to go further because if the child is A blood over here, that still doesn't prove that he's the father or not. You know, it could be, you know, another man or whatever that had, you know, BO blood or whichever. But there's certain things that just wouldn't make sense. If the child's BO or B, he can't be the father. It's impossible.
I've done paternity testing at the hospital many times. To prove it's not.
The proof was,
you can prove the guy.
yeah, you can prove it's not together. Yeah, but you can't, like, if this becomes like the person is AB blood, the child is AB blood, you can't prove that that's the father, though. You have to go further test it. Does that make sense? But if the child is BO, I can tell you right now that is not the father. Does that make sense? That's all I want to say about the blood typing. All right, that should, I think that's enough information. They didn't do positive and negative, did they?
If they have questions, they can ask.
Okay, all right. But that'll get you on the start with that. But it's not in my PowerPoint, but I want to give you some idea of what blood typing is all about. Okay? There's a lot more to know that, like what happens if you get the wrong blood and stuff. That's not for this course. Okay? Not that I can't teach you, I just, I got to do more genetic stuff. Okay? Questions on that? Yeah. Okay. And I think that's enough to keep it going. All right. All right. So, and this is albinism. With person with being albino. Complete or partial absence of the pigments in the skin. All right, skin, hair, and eyes. Depends on how severe it is. It could be like totally, totally white. But that's what that is. All right. So here's humans, and there's also a wallaby. But there's a lot of albino animals also. All right. I guess also in plants they can do that too, right? Albino plants, but that's
Orchids, big on orchids.
okay. All right. But how do you get the sunlight in there? There's no chlorophyll. That's interesting. Yeah, but I would think something like that might be interesting. I don't think it's survival either. I think it's a mutant thing. Okay. Yeah. All right. So, any questions about autosomal recessive traits or diseases? I'm doing the easy ones first. All right, there's also autosomal dominant traits and diseases. Dominant alleles causing disease. Very few human diseases with this. All right, you see, even though the autosomal recessive, the ones I just showed you at sickle cell, they're rare. Well, these autosomal dominant diseases are much rarer than that. Okay, but you still need to understand how that happens. Okay, they're lethal diseases caused by these dominant alleles. All right, achondroplasia is probably the most common one that's not lethal. Achondroplasia is a form of dwarfism. Okay, 70% dwarfism is in this form, and it's basically what happens is the ends of the bones, which are cartilage, don't grow anymore. So now you can't, in long bones, and the long bones are in your arms and in your legs and your fingers. So they won't grow lengthwise anymore, they stop. But the bones in your head and the bones in your chest, they continue to grow. So these are people that are out of proportion. In other words, they have an adult head and adult body, but their arms and legs are short, and their fingers are like stubby, right? It's because that's where the long bones are. All right, and I think you probably know this guy from Game of Thrones, right? With Peter Dinklage, and he has achondroplasia. Notice that his head and body, if you take away the arms and legs, he has a normal adult torso, not the arms. But the arms and the legs are short. If you look at his fingers, they're stubby, right? So that's achondroplasia, okay? So what's happening here is this. If the parents, so this, now we flip it. So this is the dad and this is the mom. It's the D, the capital D, that's actually going to be the disease-carrying allele, not the lowercases I showed you before. So this is autosomal dominant diseases. Does that make sense? We call this a disease, but it's a condition, right? So in this case, when you multiply this thing over here, you'll have heterozygous dominant, which means 50% of the offspring will actually be dwarfed. Whereas the lower place ones, whereas I guess you could say homozygous recessive, they're the ones that are going to be normal. It's kind of like flipped. It's the opposite. Okay? Does that make sense? If you understand the other one, then this is just the same thing. It says the disease or the conditions on the dominating allele. Okay, we good with that? That's all I wanted to say with that one. Yeah.
I don't quite understand, how do we know which allele is the normal one?
You have to go back. They do certain tests that they can actually do. Blood tests that they could go, yeah, they could actually see. Or you can also go back in what we call pedigrees. That, okay, if you have the disease, what about your mother? What about your grandmother? What about your great-grandmother? If you can go back that far. See, it's difficult if you're adopted, right? If you don't know the back. That's why it's important to know, I know the parents who adopt, that not adopt you, but give you up, that they want their own privacy. You don't want the child, for whatever reason, not get in touch with you. But it should be very important that the child know any diseases. And I think that's what they do for adoption. Even if the mother gets a disease, let's say when the child is 15 years old, the biological mother should still write to them, or write to the, the adoption agency and say, I just found out I got diabetes, or I got cancer, or some odd disease. Because it has to be passed down to the child. I think there's a lot of issues with that and miscommunication where it doesn't go down. So, okay, questions?